All right, so I got some updates for you guys on some of the nonsense that happened at City Council earlier this morning. I got some great news. I got some really terrible news. I'll start with some of the more positive news. Sunshine was actually present at the City Council today. So if you don't know, Sunshine is a sitting board member over at the Central Hollywood Neighborhood Council. And he's one of the few board members of a neighborhood council that actually has the guts to come and make public comment during City Council meetings. And so major shout out to Sunshine. There's a little project we have in the works. I don't want to spoil it too much, but I'll keep you guys posted. It's a little, I guess I should say, like a little podcast episode. We're going to talk about some the topics that I keep talking about here that aren't really covered by any neighborhood council, frankly, that really is the goal, at least in my eyes, of what a neighborhood council should be, which is not just an advisory position, but to serve as a way to educate the public on what is going on with the city, in addition to their advisory roles of the same capacity that the city attorney has. City attorney's office is one input to the city council, so too is neighborhood councils, and I think the fact of the matter is there's far more neighborhood councils than there are city attorney. There's one city attorney. Sure, she might have several deputies, but there's 99 neighborhood councils. Each of them have several board members, and all of them are exclusively dedicated to the concerns of their constituents, whereas the city attorney's office is really scattered every which way. And so we'll see how it goes. I'll keep you guys posted on that one. I can't wait. It's nice to see, honestly, a neighborhood council, not just the council overall, but an actual person inside a neighborhood council care and realize that they're not just there to rubber stamp any little community grant that comes their way. Really, they're supposed to, and we're always meant to be, an activist type of organization. And so I hope it continues. You know, I keep saying Sunshine for president. We'll see if it happens. But, you know, I'll leave it at that. So some crazy nonsense went down today, man. I mean, you probably saw it on Smoke and Scan. Shout out to Smoke and Scan. But, all right, get this. Herman was kicked out. And not only that, Sleazy Marchese had the audacity to shout out, and he looked like such a kid doing it. Like, it wasn't funny at all. The mood was clearly serious, and even Pumpkinhead. I'm ashamed that Pumpkinhead over the deputy city attorney. Pumpkinhead had the audacity to chime in too. This dude thought it was hilarious, okay? They kicked Herman out for absolutely no reason. He was doing nothing. He was standing on a corner, and he was waiting for his public comment on the special item. And they kicked him out. And not only did they kick him out on totally baseless grounds, but not only that, they were harassing Herman by they being Marchese, Sleazy, and Pumpkinhead, and two of the other gang members of the city council gang. And so the city council gang was harassing Herman by saying that Herman was abusing his dog. And they were saying they want a police report filed against Herman for animal abuse, which is it's ridiculous. And not only that, but they wanted a noise complaint against Herman. It's not going to go through, but this is the kind of gang activity you can expect from the city council gang, right? The gang of city council members. That's what they are. People need to realize that all of this facade, all this illusion, the presentations are just there to try to legitimize the picture that they want you to see, which is that city council is proper and they're not at all criminals and that they're not at all committing wide-scale fraud using homelessness programs, but they really are. They are the ones that are aiding and abetting. They're the ones that are the mechanism that this money flows through, that are helping launder the money. The city attorney's office is just the one making sure that everybody knows what the agreed narrative and story is. They use the attorney-client privilege to hide the criminal acts, even though it actually doesn't give you permission to aid and abet your client, which in this case is the city, to do criminal acts, especially when you're a lawyer. You should know that Heidi, yeah, I'm talking to you, Heidi. I know you watch these, Heidi. And that's essentially what's happening there. And so these jackoffs, right, had the audacity to harass Herman like that. And they kicked him out, didn't give him his time to sign up on public comment. They didn't even put the special item up on the cue card for people to register. So they were going to try to steamroll through, not take public comment on the special item, even though they're supposed to take public comment on the special item. And they tried to, but they failed. And then you even had one of the people speaking on the alleged special item section, right? This is after the normal items were already heard. But this lady that was speaking during the 1 minute that's allowed for the special item, this lady was talking about cannabis-related stuff, and she didn't get called off on topic, or she didn't get called out as off topic, even though that period had already passed during the regular hearing of City Council. That in and of itself demands a cure and correct. Yesterday, of course, a cure and correct for not taking public comment during the special agenda items. They try to pull the same thing today. They failed today. There's more of us present today. But yeah, they were trying to get Herman on animal abuse for kicking him out illegally. And the special item, by the way, was to disregard the Brown Act for public hearings and not have public hearing period for an item on the agenda. And that's what they were voting on. They were voting on to suspend the Brown Act. Literally, that's what they were voting on the special item today. They didn't have the agenda posted for the special item. They tried to do this sleazy nonsense of saying, well, it's on the TV, so that counts. Just take a photo of the TV. No, you can't do that. You have to have it printed and made publicly available before the meeting. And it has to be with proper notice. And suspension of state laws is only in a national state of emergency. You can't just declare a state of emergency just because you want to declare the state of emergency in order to skirt the law. You can't do that. And so this is at the behest. This special item was made at the behest of Mayor Karen Bass, of course, right? She's already deep into a bunch of criminal nonsense with laundering billions upon billions of dollars through nonprofits that were alleged to be part of the homelessness funds that never actually got to homeless people, that instead made it their way to all of the vendors that she had specially chosen that were tied to her cronies so that they could launder that money, line their own pockets, and never actually execute the services for people that needed things like counseling and a bed. And of course failed to define, what is a bed, what is a unit, standard rates for a night, standard rates for construction of different units, how many beds would be constituted inside of a unit. So this is the nonsense. This is the criminal gang trash that is the gang of the city council, right? This is the gang of the city attorney's office is just that. They're the apex because they're the folks that don't prosecute officers when they break the law, and they're not prosecuting other city officials when they're also breaking the law. And who, of course, is at the head of orchestrating all the contracts and negotiating all the contracts and seeing each and every settlement agreement on every city contract? Well, it's the city attorney's office. They know of all the criminal behavior. They're not prosecuting the individuals. They too are culpable, meaning you, Heidi, and they're choosing to let it go anyway. So that's what we had today at City Council. There's going to be a 2:30 homelessness committee meeting coming up. So we'll see if they cancel that, if they try to pull a fast one. That one's led by Nithya Raman. And so, the gang of City Council, led by the head gangster, the city attorney, which right now just happens to be Heidi Feltzing Soto, and the gang of deputies that she has at her hand. All that criminal gang enterprise, that's who Heidi is. And the city council members are just simply the medium through which they help launder the money through bogus programs that they pitch and sell to the public and hide. So that's the gang of City of LA Council. They kicked Herman out illegally, threatening to make a arrest and a bogus police report on him. I'm laughing about it. Laughing about it. Marquise Sleazy laughing about it like it's some giant joke. When the dog was yelping, the dog is specifically trained to do that when Herman is in distress. The dog was doing their job of alerting people that Herman was in distress. He was not arrested. He left the room peacefully, like he always does. That's not a crime. What is a crime is to harass him. What is a crime is to violate the Brown Act. If anybody should be getting an RO here, it should be at the very least Marquise Sleazy and Pumpkinhead for doing this like less than high school age bullying. Because that's what this is. This is straight up bullying. You know, and the only people that found it funny were just these three idiots. Nobody else in the room was laughing. In fact, they were appalled, and it was just insane. So that's all I got for you guys. I'll see you after the homelessness committee meeting. So, all right, peace out.